Early morning on Saturday, March 19th, Venus, the planet of love and desire, squares Uranus, the rebel and the troublemaker. Let's talk about it in more depth and find out what it might mean for your rising sign. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing mainly in natal, relationship, and predictive astrology. If you're new to my channel, please leave me a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe. I appreciate all of the support that I get from you guys. And if you'd like to book a reading with me, there's a link down below for that. So Venus square Uranus, it's not the biggest transit, right? But like we sort of feeling it building up a few days as I'm recording it on March 17th. It's already in action. And it perfects Saturday morning, March 19th. And then there's a couple of days while the energy subsides and lessens. So let's talk about this. Venus classically is the planet of attraction. Venus tends to glue together things that are not meant to be together. It harmonizes, it brings beauty and accord into our lives, right? It's connected to attraction and our values and things we find desirable, or how we are perceived as desirable, how we present ourselves. Uranus is the rebel. Uranus is connected to Prometheus, stealing fire from the gods, bringing it down to earth, shaking the foundations, right? Sudden disruptive force, very kind of like, yeah, like troublemaker, right? You cannot predict Uranian energies, and that's why sometimes it's hard to talk about these transits, because you cannot know how it's gonna go, right? Like it can be a breakdown of something that is not solid, or it can be a breakthrough. So you can totally expect both in your life. But overall, topics of freedom, topics of authenticity, topics of standing apart will show up in our lives. Sudden destruction or creation of relationships, art, and beauty. So a few things that definitely you can expect is relationship tests, right? Venus wants to glue things together, Uranus wants to tear things apart. So is your relationship solid? Is it, you know, in need of some kind of revolutionizing? Because maybe it's solid, but you just need to go on a date, or you need to hire a babysitter and like explore your sexuality together. There might be something that needs to happen in your relationship, some kind of evolution, change, breakthrough. And if a relationship is not solid, if it's already kind of shaky, then Uranus comes in and maybe your partner tells you that they want to go and date other people. There might be some kind of like, you know, disruption coming either from the outside world. Maybe they need to move, and that puts your relationship on pause, or they're desiring more freedom, right? And if a relationship isn't solid, it's going to break. It's kind of similar to, I think, like long distance, right? Like when a relationship goes through a test of long distance, only the ones that have foundation and kind of a clear plan, solid structure in them, they survive. The rest may not. Could be a lovely time to explore in your relationship, right? Uranus, if you don't want it to surprise you and take you off guard, take you off balance, create disruptions, go out somewhere unusual, invite another couple in and swing if you're into that. But like there's kind of like energy of like trying new things, trying unusual things in sexuality, in your love life, in your creative pursuits. If you are a creative individual, this could be the time when something opens, like a new way of looking at things, a new type of art. You step outside of your comfort zone. Maybe it's uncomfortable, maybe it's scary, but it results in beauty. Another thing that shows up at this time is attraction to unusual things and people. So when it comes to art, there might be certain things that you find attractive that you normally wouldn't. You have to be careful with that a little bit, right? Because if you suddenly get an urge to get like a permanent tattoo, maybe you want to hold off on that. And the same goes for beauty procedures. Like if you're feeling this urge to pursue some kind of procedure that is innovative and experimental, maybe you want to wait a little bit and see if this desire stays. Attractions that are sudden meeting someone through friends, meeting someone on the street, then like experiencing that spark of attraction, desire is definitely a possibility. And similarly, you may be drawn to people you wouldn't normally go for. So someone who's like nerdy, or someone who has no money, while naturally maybe you are a Capricorn Venus person and you desire a partner who's like ambitious and more stable. Definitely try to invite change into your life and try to be adaptable, be patient, be innovative. And if you don't want this to take you by surprise, try to create surprises in your life. But maybe don't surprise. Maybe don't surprise other people who aren't as prepared for that. And watch out for Uranus. Can create like a sense of a knee-jerk reaction, a self-sabotage, where maybe you break a relationship that is perfectly good, but you suddenly realize that, like, or out of fear, right? Like, you don't want to break things out of fear, where you may be feeling like it's not working out and you just kind of like pull the plug on it prematurely. So let's do a quick rundown of what this might mean for every rising sign. For Aries rising, Venus is in the 11th house, whereas Uranus in the 2nd house. You can experience friendship tests. Perhaps you haven't spoken to a friend for a while, or they do something that just takes you off balance, like where I don't know, they talk harshly about you and they always were on your side, and now they say it, and there it becomes the whole problem of like, are they against you? Are they your friend? Try to talk honestly to your friend and try to sort things through, right? Like, avoid that tendency to just like cut it off and let the person go, especially if it's a worthy relationship. If the relationship has been kind of unsatisfying for a long time, maybe this is your approval to let the person go. Conflicts surrounding values and money in friendships are possible. For example, like if you are pro, let's go with vegetarianism, and your friend is not, and you kind of clash on that, right? Like, so be careful when it comes to that. Be careful when it comes to financial matters. There might be financial surprises, both good or bad, but squares tend to be rough or more complicated. But maybe you have to spend money suddenly, and that affects your future plans. Or maybe you look at your bank account and you realize that, like, you barely have enough to pay your taxes. Be careful, try to plan in advance, right? Be ready to pivot, adapt, and sort through your resources in order to better your friendships and better your goals in the future. For Taurus rising, Venus in the 10th house is squaring Uranus in your 1st house. So Taurus rising people with Uranus in the 1st have been pursuing a lot of personal initiatives, be that your podcast, your business, your social media page that you want to take full time. And it's possible that this week things get a little rocky. Maybe your boss finds out that you're spending time pursuing your personal projects instead of working, and you get into a fight with them. Issues of freedom in the workplace, for sure. A sense of like being micromanaged or being frustrated about all the things you're taking care of. Even if it's your personal project, there might be like a sense of like, whatever, throwing papers in the air, walking away. So be careful with that. Try to instead think of ways in which you can present yourself differently. How can you, if you're frustrated with your boss, maybe you ask for the bigger boss to move you to a different position, right? Or maybe you're getting ready to start your own thing and you just need to plan a little bit more. There might be quite like exciting things coming to you personally, but they affect your professional goals. Like, let's say someone invites you to give a TED talk, and that means saying no to maybe like, solid income, but you're pursuing something that feels shaky and unsteady, but ultimately can make you feel more free. Of course, more challenging things are likely with this Venus square Uranus. That's why I'm saying watch out for rash actions and impulsive behaviors. Like quitting, getting fired is a possibility here, especially if you act in a very rebellious way. That's why, be careful. And watch out for pushing yourself too hard, because Uranus in the first house can create like a sense of, I don't know, hurting yourself, rushing and bumping your head and like going out of commission for a few days, let's say. So you want to make sure you're not overexerting yourself and you're not being reckless. For Gemini rising, Venus in the 9th house squares Uranus in the 12th house. This can lead to secrets coming out, because Uranus, 12th house, is the place of hidden things. And when Uranus is there, it may just kind of like some of the things that you kept under wraps can show up. And maybe that affects your relationships. You know, it could be multiple things. Maybe you're working on a project that your boss doesn't know about and it's like a personal thing and you're worried how they react. Maybe you've been hiding your personal drama from a friend and they find out. There's a lot of possibilities. Of course, like, you know, more challenging things would be like if you were dating someone who is married, for example, and that kind of shows up and blows up in everyone's face. So you want to be careful there. There's a possibility of disruptions to your education or any education initiatives, travel plans, as well as sudden travel. Like suddenly something happens and you're called to buy a ticket, hop on a plane and go see your parents, for example. And difficulties related to legal matters may require you to adapt and adjust and change the way you do things. So as much as possible, if you are submitting any paperwork this week, or if you're dealing with any legal issues, make sure to double check everything. For Cancer rising, Venus in the 8th house squares Uranus in the 11th. There's a possibility of a financial, both bonus or financial losses, or maybe like needing to spend money on something suddenly. A friend might reach out to you and ask for a loan, and that might result in some kind of like conflict or drama or tension between you two. Maybe you are owed money. Maybe someone owes you money and you kind of like bring it up, and that brings cutting ties or, you know, tension between the two of you. So you want to be careful. Changes to your partner's finances are possible too, and also unexpected spendings. Maybe you end up, you know, like Venus in the 8th might have a certain idea of where to put money, but then like Uranus in the 11th is telling you like, no, you actually have to spend on this now, and this is more urgent. Yeah, definitely disruptions to your or your partner's finances coming from the outside are likely with this energy. And if you are feeling, you know, if you're feeling unhappy with the dynamics you have in your relationship, be that your romantic relationship or your business partnership, it might be a good idea to bring it up and talk about it honestly, because even if there's friction, that friction can bring growth in your relationship. For Leo rising, we have Venus in the 7th squaring Uranus in the 10th. One thing I didn't say earlier is that this energy is a little bit like a callback to 2021 when we had Uranus-Saturn square, right? So Leo risings have Venus in the 7th house trying to harmonize, trying to have a happy relationship, trying to have a partnership that flows and grows and makes both people happy. Uranus in the 10th is wanting freedom. It wants to do things creatively. It wants to pursue projects that are exciting, start new things, go after your personal desires. So that can be at odds with your relationship, right? Maybe your personal goals don't really match up with your partner's goals. Maybe something is happening in the life of your partner where they get promoted and they have to move to another country, and that creates a relationship test. More than for other signs, for Leo rising and for Libra rising, I think there's more of a potential for romantic drama and, like, you know, personal relationship drama. Take a look at how you handled things in 2021. That might be an answer to you. And if you are dealing with a conflict, like say you have a writing partner and you want to write a story about addiction and they want to write a story about travel, maybe you combine the two and write about addiction while traveling. You know, Uranus can definitely be helpful when it comes to like electrifying your mind. And as I'm recording this, it's like March 17th, you know, we're 2 days away from this and I'm already feeling the juices flowing in my head. So stay grounded and compromise. For Virgo rising, Venus in the 6th house is squaring Uranus in the 9th house. Venus in the 6th tries to take your attention towards bettering your health, having happy relationships at your job, and just smoothing over any problems that you may run into on your daily route. Uranus in the 9th is seeking freedom of thought, freedom of movement, freedom to learn and teach whatever you want to do. So there might be ideological conflicts with people at work, where you disagree about something seemingly simple, but it might blow up and perhaps force you to adjust issues in those relationships, address issues in those relationships. Work relationship tests, especially if professionally you are dealing with any 9th house matters. Like if your work requires travel, maybe there's delays to travel. If you're working with foreigners, maybe they don't send you the papers, or they send papers finally and they're wrong, and you kind of just be careful to not react or not overreact to things, because there's definitely a possibility there. There might be some legal matters that suddenly come up and you have to deal with that like disrupt your flow and take your attention away from harmony and balance. Try to stay patient and do some of the 6th house things, kind of like taking a walk, taking care of your health, and breathe. Remember to breathe. For Libra rising, Venus in the 5th house squares Uranus in the 8th. There might be interesting things happening when it comes to matters of children. Maybe you have a realization whether you want kids or you don't want kids, and you take some kind of action there, right? Like being proactive. Like I'm listening to Nightlight Astrology podcast, and he mentioned one of his listeners said that her and her partner are getting a vasectomy. So that to me feels like some kind of, like Uranian technique to address the topics of children. So getting a vasectomy, freezing your eggs, starting IVF, there's definitely like interesting possibilities that have to do with future-oriented kind of things. Sexual breakthroughs are possible. Maybe, Uranus in the 8th can bring up fears, can bring up challenges, past traumas, insecurities, and then it like makes you look at it and just kind of like hits you over the head. Maybe you enter a new relationship and it brings up a lot of traumas and issues, and then through facing those, you connect with your partner better and understand yourself better. There's financial difficulties. There's a possibility for sure of needing to spend money on something that affects your sense of joy and play, and maybe you need to spend money on that vasectomy thing that I mentioned, or IVF, or your taxes. It's likely that your creative juices will be somehow blocked, or you will be required to adjust and adapt. Look at it as a chance to innovate, as a chance to think outside the box. And, if you do have to spend money on something that is not as enjoyable for you, maybe you try to find ways to have fun and create without spending a lot of money. Definitely always room to explore with Uranus. Uranus asks you to explore. For Scorpio risings, Venus in the 4th house squares Uranus in the 7th. Look at what was happening in 2021 for you when Saturn was squaring Uranus between the same two houses, right? Like what kind of conflicts and tensions exist currently between your home and family and your partnership? Have you given some money to your family that your partner doesn't agree, right? There is a possibility of having like clashes between your parents and your partner, between you and your partner's parents, even between you and your partner when it comes to the way you view home and family. Like maybe you want kids and they don't want kids, and now you have to address some of that. Maybe you want to expand your house and build another, you know, extension, and they're just perfectly happy with what is. So there's romantic, there's familial relationship tests coming up with this. Partner may act, you know, Uranus is in the 7th house, so your partner might act in a very unusual way. Like if you are in a new relationship and suddenly the partner goes missing, or they tell you like, I'm married, or I have 3 kids, and you're like, you never wanted to have kids or to be a stepmom, but you really love them, and now you have to figure it out, plus they lied to you. I don't know. I don't know. In my head, it's very dramatic, the stories that other people live. But you want to try and like communicate honestly, right? Whatever disagreements you have with your partner, maybe it's a business partner, right? About investing money, about building a home, about whatever makes you feel safe and secure, you want to talk about it and try to compromise. For Sag risings, Venus in the 3rd squares Uranus in the 6th. Conflicts with siblings are definitely a possibility because Venus in the 3rd house is siblings, 6th house is service. So maybe a sibling requires too much attention. Maybe you've been giving a lot of energy to them to the point where you're doing yourself a disservice. So there might be that desire to break away from some kind of uncomfortable sibling or roommate or neighbor drama. And maybe also just a desire for like freedom of movement, freedom of building your own schedule versus just like relying on someone or something. This can show up professionally too, where if you're working, especially like if you're working in some kind of service industry, medical field, like healing, legal matters, anything like that, Uranus can create a sudden like burst of needing freedom. Like suddenly you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, goodbye. But then, you know, that kind of like ripples out into the rest of your life and makes you answer tough questions that maybe you don't have answers for. So you want to be careful and do your best to take great care of your health within these few days, because 6th house also deals with like sudden things that befall you. You don't want to, this could actually manifest quite easily in like driving too hard or overloading your schedule to the point that something breaks. So if you're a Sagittarius rising, be careful with that. For Cap risings, Venus in the 2nd house squares Uranus in the 5th house. Uranus in the 5th can create like a creative breakthrough, a desire for creative freedom. If you are working with a partner, maybe you decide that you want to go off on your own, or you get an idea to start your business, right? To become a TikTok creator or something. But because there is Venus in the 2nd house, there might be tension between your desire for freedom and your need for money, or the lack of money, or the need to budget your resources. Because and even like disagreements with your partner surrounding money, surrounding your idea of fun, and surrounding your pursuits connected to children are possible here. Be careful when it comes to resources. Avoid spendings that are sudden and not thought out. Maybe this could be like a great time when, instead of breaking something down and having fights, you use the energy of Uranus to brainstorm solutions and brainstorm new money-making opportunities. Creative breakthroughs are definitely possible here, but you want to be careful when it comes to your resources. And maybe, you know, dealing with disagreements with your partner with a cool head as much as you can. Investing money into something connected to creativity and children and joy is totally a possibility, but there might be tension between like how much to invest, how much you want to invest. Do you have enough for the rest of your life? So like tensions there. For Aqua risings, Venus is in the first house, squaring Uranus in the fourth house. Disruptions connected to the home and family that block your personal pursuits. You know, there's been some lovely energy coming up with Mercury sextiling Uranus between your second house and your fourth house. So I'm imagining it as like, let's say you are very close with your mom, and then your mom decides to move back or move to the same town that you live in. So you got these good news early in the week, but then Venus squares Uranus and your mom, I mean, it might be like super quick, but say your mom moved in with you and now she's being too controlling, or she's not allowing you to have your own space. And so you're kind of dealing with a little bit of that clash between your independence and your family. Surprises connected to family members are possible. Maybe your dad needs to go through like some kind of minor surgery and you need to take some time off in order to go and be there with your dad. You're required to adapt. You're required to, you know, like be flexible and do not neglect responsibilities you have to your family, but also don't sacrifice your personal goals for the family. Finally, Pisces rising has Venus in the 12th house, squaring Uranus in the 3rd house. So Venus in the 12th has currently, it might be like looking at all of your unresolved relationship problems and relationships that are self-undoing and self-sabotaging and how you're not healing yourself. And Uranus in the 3rd can come in a shape of like someone telling you the truth or someone disrupting your life to make you look at it, right? I see this as very healing possibly, but also it can result in some kind of like inner breakdown that other people might not even see because Venus is in the dark house, and even the 3rd house is not like the most visible house. So maybe you talk to your neighbor, maybe you talk to your sibling, maybe you talk to your friend, and they kind of tell you something that triggers you and creates like, you know, inner like things falling apart, and then you need to put them back together in a more organized fashion. Watch out for harsh exchanges with siblings and neighbors and roommates. Watch out for self-sabotage. And there might also be even like something simple, right? Like Uranus in the 3rd house, like your car breaks down, your computer breaks down, and maybe that on top of other things just makes you like flip out. Don't flip out. Anastasia warned you against flipping out. So yeah, try to be innovative, proactive, and look at how you can use your communication to better your mental health. Maybe it's the time to sign up for therapy. Maybe it's time to start journaling, meditate, get yourself one of those like healthy watches, go on walks, do something good for yourself. So this is my look at Venus squaring Uranus, where it's basically upon us. Let me know in the comments below if this resonated and if you have already experienced any of these things manifesting in your life, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.